The Canadian Taxpayers Federation is calling on the Alberta government to strengthen the Taxpayer Protection Act to shield Albertans from a future provincial carbon tax. Now, to talk about this in more detail is the Alberta Director of the CTF, Kris Sims, who joins us from rainy Victoria, BC. Now, Kris, you're concerned that even after Federal Tory leader Pierre Poilievre axes the tax should he form government in 2025, there's the potential for Alberta to bring back its own carbon tax?
Yeah, because remember, the former NDP government of Alberta didn't mention a carbon tax at all when they were running during the 2015 election. But nonetheless, in 2016, we got a provincial carbon tax in Alberta just the same. So we don't think Premier Danielle Smith would go there, but who knows what's going to happen in the future when it comes to provincial government. So if there is ever a time where Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's carbon tax goes bye-bye, we want to make sure it doesn't fly home to roost in Alberta. So that's why we need to strengthen the Taxpayer Protection Act to prevent a provincial carbon tax from happening here again.
So let's talk about the Alberta Taxpayer Protection Act. What does it shield us from and not shield us from?
It's a really big deal. So anybody who lives in Alberta or who has visited there probably notices you don't pay a PST. No provincial sales tax in Alberta. We're the only province without one. Why? Well, we have the Taxpayer Protection Act. That means that in order to have a PST in Alberta, the folks in Alberta would need to vote for one. They'd need to hold a referendum and vote in favor of a PST. It has since become really a third rail in Alberta politics. No politician wants to touch the PST. What's really great is that Premier Danielle Smith has strengthened it so that they can't increase personal income tax or business taxes. That's still protected by the Taxpayer Protection Act. So it's really strong legislation. We want them to go one step further, put a shield against a provincial carbon tax in there.
Now, your group, the Canadian Taxpayers Federation, is also calling on the City of Edmonton to scrap its bag tax. Tell me more about that.
This is very similar to the single-use item bylaw in Calgary, where they charge you a minimum 15 cents per paper bag and a minimum $1 per bag that is deemed reusable by the city. Now, of course, the folks in Calgary refused to put up with that. Premier Smith even called it a mutiny on wing night because people were having to beg for napkins and forks on wing night at pubs. And so the folks in Calgary have started the long, arduous process of getting rid of their bag fee. What we're encouraging the people of Edmonton to do is to get rid of their bag fee too. Because on Canada Day, July 1st, that fee is going up to 25 cents per bag and $2 per reusable bag.
Kris Sims, Alberta Director of the Canadian Taxpayers Federation, thanks so much for joining us today from soggy Victoria, BC.